Joe, what's more surprising to you, Paloma's mistake or Dixon earning a win and what was only his second podium of the year?
For me, I got to be honest, I was more surprised that Scott Dixon got to win more so than Alex Palou. I know we've seen Alex Palou race for quite a few years now in IndyCar series, and he doesn't make that many mistakes. With that said, though, he's still very young in his career. He still has a lot of potential, and he's getting to that level. He's in a situation he has not been in before with so many wins. He's almost to that point where I think he could just go on a little bit of like a cruise control, just hit your marks, do what you need to do. And I'm starting to wonder maybe he just had that mental lapse and that allowed Scott Dixon to get around. Because Scott Dixon this year, how many times we talked about qualifying? Bad luck, no luck, starting towards the back, working its way towards the front, not getting wins. It just seemed like this has not been a good season. So, considering the strategy they were on, I just thought, okay, he might get a podium. Then he found himself in second place. Hey, that's great. You're going to be second place, but it's going to be behind Alex Palou, on track to another win. And then Alex Palou makes that mistake. Scott Dixon goes there, gets the win. Looking at the rest of the season, Scott Dixon's going to have a hard time earning a win at any of the road courses, the ovals. Who knows what's going to happen if Penske shows up, or if this is the Penske that showed up today. He's going to show up in Iowa, and now everyone has a shot. I think he's not going to win another race, in my opinion. I think Scott Dixon, this is probably going to be his solo win of the year, and really just came at the expense of Alex Palou. Great for him, getting closer to AJ Floyd, 21 straight seasons of at least one win. Let's see if we can get to 22, but I feel like he's getting to the point where you're going to wonder how much longer he's going to be in the seat, and I think he still needs to step up his performance this year.
I think conversely to Joe. Oh, yeah, I am on mic. Okay, we're good. Anyway, I think conversely to Joe, I was a little bit more surprised by Alex Palou's error, uh, personally because he doesn't really make many of them. So not only that, it looked kind of weird. Like looked like he was entering the corner like he had all day. Drives in there. All of a sudden, the car just goes straight. He didn't look like he had a lockup. Didn't look like anything out of the ordinary happened. It looked like the car just kind of went straight on him in that one corner. And it almost seemed like he wouldn't like give up on the corner. And that's why he ended up off the track. Like I feel like if he had just locked it down and did whatever he could to keep it on the pavement, he might have still held the lead. But regardless, I still think it took an incredible effort to not completely bottle it and send it into the fence, especially on that corner. But um, you got to still tip your cap to Scott Dixon and that entire nine team over at Chip Ganassi Racing. I'm sure it's got to be hard for a guy that's within spitting distance of AJ Foyt's all-time record and a guy that has, won pretty much everything there is to win in the sport except at St. Petersburg. Let's not forget that. That you see your teammate, your young teammate, just continue to go out and throttle the competition in the same equipment every single week. And for Dixon, I feel like the competitor in him, it felt good to run for him what was essentially a flawless race. I feel like it is going to be a pretty big confidence boost for him in the nine team going forward. But yeah, I feel like I was a little bit more surprised by Palou completely biffing the corner and then bottling the race entirely. But at the end of the day, Scott Dixon, just pure, unadulterated, perfect performance from him, which is pretty much what you should be able to expect from him. But in this hybrid era, this is his first victory, and we've just eclipsed a year of that unit being installed at this track last year. So it'll be interesting to see how the nine team continues to perform after this. I don't feel like they exactly had a race winning pace kind of day, but when you execute well enough, you don't have to have race winning pace. As long as you come across the line first, it's really all that matters.
Yeah, and I actually have to side with Tanner on this one as well. Because Alex Palou, this is a guy who is almost flawless, and today we learned that he is in fact human. Because Alex Palou making a mistake is extremely rare. I was really surprised because it seemed like yeah, it wasn't necessarily cruise control for Alex Palou, especially since that restart. But if he just hit his marks, he was definitely gonna cruise on his way to a victory. Since passing, once it got spread out, was kind of difficult to make moves. So Alex Palou messed up there, and he was really hard on himself after the race. Say it hurts to lose that one because this was his race to lose, and he lost it. In an unfortunate way. But on the bright side of things, obviously didn't hurt him too badly in the championship. His points leads actually grew. I believe he's like 112, 113 points ahead right now in the championship. So he's still looking good there. Can just really points race, for the next several races, and then he'll be holding up a championship at the end of the year once again. Yeah, so I was just really surprised that Pelot made that mistake, and we'll see how he recovers from it. I think he'll bounce back really quickly, but I'm sure he's not really happy to see a couple of oval races coming up on the schedule since he's really a master of the road and street course races compared to the ovals. And Scott Dixon, got to tip your hat to him. Another great race from him, and 44 years old, 8 wins away from 10. AJ Foyt makes you wonder how much longer he's going to compete. I know we talk about this all the time on this show. Whenever Scott Dixon wins a race and mention AJ Foyt, if he can keep this form, well into his mid 40s, if he wants to continue to race, late 40s, early 50s, who knows how long. If he can keep this going for several more seasons, it would be really cool to see Scott Dixon either tie or eclipse AJ Foyt's record. I think that would be monumental for us to see this in the modern era because with AJ Foyt's record, I don't think a lot of us really believe anyone would even come close to matching it. But Scott Dixon, he's getting closer and closer. But I'm just afraid that, being 44 years old, we don't know when the drop is going to happen with Scott Dixon. But once it happens, it's obviously going to be really hard for him to try to tie or break Foyt's record. I think it would be cool to see it happen. But given, the dominance Alex Palou has on most race weekends and how competitive series usually is, I know Scott Dixon only became the third different race winner this year. So far, leading into this race, it was just Alex Palou all day and then a little bit of Kyle Kirkwood in between, and now Scott Dixon. So given all of that, I think it's going to be hard for Scott Dixon to try to get to AJ Foyt, but who knows? Maybe he'll go on a run and get a few more race wins into this season and race next season as well, maybe a few seasons after that, and continue to have this strong form. But really nice to be able to appreciate what Scott Dixon is doing right now.